Hi everyone. We're just going to give another 10 seconds before we start this. Thanks for joining in. All right, I think I'm going to start. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vedant, and I welcome you all to today's webinar on the topic of improved patient-centric care and how SourceFuse helped design patient centricity for Dr. Reddy's using AWS Cloud. Today, we have three esteemed speakers joining us. Rajdeep Ghosh, who is the Global Head for Digital Center of Excellence at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. He's a technology and business pacesetter with 15 years of versatile leadership experience in driving enterprise digital transformation, solution consulting, product management, and end-to-end product development. His areas of expertise include conceptualizing and driving digital strategy and digital innovation around healthcare and patient-centric digital platforms. Rajdeep is accompanied by Gautam Ghai. Gautam is the co-founder and chief executive officer at SourceFuse and stands at the forefront of the fastest moving technology industry trend, cloud computing. Throughout his 18 years of experience, Gautam has built a reputation of developing business strategies, incubating new business models, and building out channel programs. Embracing the core values of integrity, innovation, and growth, he consistently strengthens SourceFuses' modernization-led cloud migration strategy, with a niche focus to support the global healthcare life sciences industry with tomorrow's digital-ready solutions. Our third speaker, Amir Said, he is the head of commercial enterprises at AWS and brings 2 decades of experience in the tech industry, most of which has involved working with enterprise customers across different industry verticals. His career with AWS spans 8 years with various business development and sales leadership roles at the time. I would like to thank each one of you for taking out the time. We're really glad to have you all as the speaker for this webinar to talk about the subject. Thanks, guys. And what a subject this is. Today, our talk will be centered around Alivius, a patient-centric platform for oncology patients developed by SourceFuse using a really interesting stack of AWS services. And to get there, Rajdeep will lay out some context about what the patient care landscape is today, how DRL is paving the path for global pharma industry in removing unmet needs of the patients to enhance patient centricity, why is it important, and its impact on overall care outcomes, and what made them select SourceFuse for this modernization journey. Gautam is then going to give us an introduction to SourceFuse, its healthcare experience and expertise, and what was the strategic tech vision for custom developing Alivius for DRL with a modernization strategy angle. He will also explain about some of the select features of Alivius, which benefits the patients with a more personalized care outlook. Before passing it on to Amir, who will then tie it all together by sharing his insights on what makes AWS Cloud the right choice for healthcare life sciences and the pharma industry from the context of digital cloud transformation and patient experience. A quick mention that towards the end of the webinar, we will have a 10-minute Q&A session where you get a chance to share your thoughts, ideas, and questions. So feel free to type in the chat section and stick around till the end for the speakers to directly address them. With that, I'm going to pass this on to Rajdeep. Rajdeep, take us away with patient care today.
Sure, thanks, Vedant. I hope I am audible, loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, good afternoon, all. What I will start with is basically I'll give you a view of digital, how we look at digital at Dr. Reddy's and how Digital Center of Excellence is driving the overall digital strategy for the organization. So this will actually help to set the context of Alivius as well for you all. So, as one of the leaders in generic pharma, we have started this journey long back. At least the digitization journey long back, and we have been a trendsetter in generic pharma. So the first pillar as part of digital strategy was always like how we digitize our core operating processes. So it means that whether we leverage MES, how we leverage LIMS, how we have, leverage electronic lab notebook, and so on, and how we, how we remove paper from the workplace and make it completely digital. All the workflows completely digital. So this is something had been always the first pillar and very important starting point for digitalization. The next pillar, when we, and Vedant, if you can just click the slide. Yeah, so the next pillar for us, as we travel this journey for years, and we believe that we had a very strong digital foundation, we embarked onto the digitalization piece, and that's more around how we start reimagining our core processes. And when I talk about core processes, also about internal processes around manufacturing, around R&D, around supply chain, and so on. And it was beyond digitization. It was also about how we reimagine these processes for better efficiency, for better turnaround time, or to even eliminate possibilities of errors, which is very critical for an industry like us. And while doing it, how we also look at the outside facing pieces, which is actually about winning with digital, and how we reimagine our engagement models, our customer experiences, which we do give, which we do provide today to our customers. And very interestingly, for pharma as an industry, I think many of the attendees are also from pharma. You will acknowledge that for pharma, the customer and consumers are different. So for us, the customers are always like doctors, and even we also serve a lot of B2B organizations. We sell them APIs, also some formulations. But at the end of the day, that's also is an important point. Like how today we engage with our doctors, how today we work with our B2B customers. So there have been very interesting work which we have been doing on that. The topmost part which is highlighted is something which is of relevance to our today's discussion, and this is more of a very bold move, which actually I say it's a bold move considering the fact that not many generic pharma have got into the space. So we thought like we should actually look beyond the pill, and our motto had been always like good health can't wait. And if we look at ensuring that we provide a better outcome or a good health to our patients, it's important that we just look beyond what a pill can do for the patient. It's also about what are the unmet needs of the patient beyond the pill, which the patient would need to get a better treatment outcome. So now today with this, the experimentation is all about how we leverage a digital platform beyond the pill to provide better outcomes to the patient. And answer to that is Alivius. So Alivius has been one of the first experiment. There are multiple others which we have been doing, but this is pretty close to our heart because this is something which we did first. And this is around our cancer care portfolio. And as part of it, what we have been doing is the vision had been always about bringing together the patients, their care teams, and their caregivers, basically their family members, on a digital platform, so that all can collaborate better, all can work towards achieving a better outcome for the patient. And cancer, cancer is a very complex treatment. And in that, it's actually was always a big unmet need. It's just not about providing them the best-in-class therapies like chemotherapy products, or providing them an opportunity to avail the best-in-class radiation therapy treatments. It's also about solving for beyond these treatment options, and that was the philosophy behind Alivius. If then you can go to the next slide.
There you go.
Yeah. So if you look at the cancer as a landscape, right? So cancer as a treatment is just not one problem. It's just not about getting a better treatment to treat your cancer. There are multiple factors, both for the patient and as well as their care teams, their doctors, their nurses, which plays a very vital role in terms of how we get a better treatment outcome. So medicine plays a very key role, definitely. But then what about information and education for the patients, whether they are, how aware they are about their treatment options, and how much they are aware with respect to the expectations from them, from their family members when they embark onto this treatment journey. How much they are aware about what to do and what not to do, what are the best practices, what to expect from a financial perspective, how much they have to plan, how much other, like even for the family members, when we did a primary research on the ground, one of the other area was the family members never expected that many of them have to leave their jobs, or rather they have to plan a support system, plan a support ecosystem for taking the care, for caring for the patient. Similarly, medication adherence. So it's not a big problem for cancer, but treatment adherence is actually a big problem. So medication adherence is a more large, it's a broad term, but then many times the people get so demoralized, demotivated, and psychologically or from a mental health perspective, they are it takes such a hit that the people who drop out from the treatment because of the acute pain of this or suffering from the treatment itself is a big unmet need which you wanted to solve. Similarly, diet management. It looks very small, but at the end of the day, if you are not taking enough protein, if your diet is not good enough, any treatment which you are taking will not have its impact. Or rather, it is about reminders and notification. Reminders and notification in terms of their chemotherapy session, in terms of radiation therapy sessions, or an appointment with the doctor. Or rather, providing them a option for connecting with their care team from their home. Because see, when I am in this treatment, I will have tons of queries. I will have hundreds of queries, and for everything I can't go back to the hospital. And or rather, if suppose I am having a side effect, I don't know what to do. And do you expect the patient to go every time to the hospital? I think no. And that's where again managing side effects, or rather providing a seamless remote engagement, a medium for remote engagement, remote collaboration was key. And on the other side, even if you think from a care provider's perspective, from the doctor's perspective, from the oncology nurse perspective, or the hematologist perspective, right? For them as well, there is a lot of information which they seek. Even if the patient calls a patient and today calls a doctor, and that might be a real-time scenario today. Suppose I've undergone 2 cycles of chemotherapy and I have acute side effects, and at this point of time, if I call the doctor and say, I have a severe diarrhea, which is a very common symptom of cancer or side effect of cancer. Now, doctor may seek additional details in terms of, okay, the diarrhea can be due to maybe various other reasons. It can be associated with the treatment, or it may not be. Now, how we enable them to take better treatment decisions, or rather even fatigue is a big problem which we don't see as a patient. But again, the fatigue of all the onco nurses to keep answering the queries, attending calls, or rather ensuring that the patients continue with the treatment, is actually takes a toll. Or even suppose if a patient's demise is basically a patient, every time the treatment is not successful, one of the patient whom the nurse is connected with, if the patient, the treatment becomes unsuccessful and he passes away, that's a huge emotional toll on them as well. So even from that perspective, we try to solve the issue for the care team. And at the end of the day, from a convenience perspective, also this solution today, you can just go back. So from a convenience perspective, this also provides a integration with the electronic health record of the hospital. It means that for a doctor, now on the EHR, they get an additional set of information, right, from their adherence, their side effects, their even queries, all they see on a common platform. So this is how we are trying to simplify or improve the overall experience, and also achieve better outcome from both the dimension, from the patient's caregivers dimension, as well as from the hospitals or the hospital staff dimension, the care teams dimension, right? So let's go to the next slide. So again, I think when we solutionized it, as me and my team had been interacting with multiple different kinds of patients across the globe, we believed, we have to solve for these 4 things. We need to solve for the connect piece. We need to solve for the, how we enable patient and the doctors to keep a track of their progress and the treatment outcomes better than what they do today. How we had enabled the care teams to respond to a situation when it comes in a real-time fashion. So rather than waiting for the patient to come down to the hospital when they have some acute side effect, or rather their health deteriorates, how we enable them with all the information, data, and so on, so that they can respond real time. how we can bring down the response time for the patient. And the third and the last thing is empowered. So everyone has to be empowered. Family members have to be empowered, patients have to be empowered, because many other things they need to manage on their own. So they need to be better educated. They need to be in better control of their treatment. They need to be in a better control of the diet, adherence, and that's what had been the four principal thought process, like from thought process standpoint, I mean 4 pillars of our philosophy behind Alivius. So with that, if you can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
So this is the solution, overall solution component. If you just look at, we have a patient app, which basically enables the patient, their caregivers to basically see the daily tasks. See, at the end of the day, any job which you do, a job which you do in an office, or a job which you have to do as a patient, is basically a set of daily tasks. So the way we have visualized it is, suppose if you have to take this medicine today, or if you have to go for an appointment today, or if you have to maybe go for a walk and do some basic exercises, or rather read this article, because this is very contextual in terms of your upcoming treatment journey. These are all tasks, and this system, this our app today is intelligent enough to provide this contextual, very contextual set of tasks which you're supposed to do. It manages or helps you to manage and report your diet to your care team. It helps you to also digitize all your paper records, because the treatment journey is long, and when you are undergoing this long journey, you have a bunch of records which you want to share. And every time I have seen the patients, and when they go to meet the doctor, they will be carrying 4 and 5 files, big thick files, and we thought like even that's something which you should digitize here. Whether it is about a medication adherence, whether it's about education and information, even periodic surveys, which is very critical to ensure or gauge what is the mental state of the patient. And if the mental state is based on this, we believe that they need a counseling. They need a counseling by a psychologist. That's something I should be aware of. Or rather, how we make the side effect reporting very visual and easy. You select which area you have a problem. It's a back pain, lower abdomen pain, or it's a fatigue. You select the area and you have your own, based on again the treatment or the type of the cancer, you have your side effect which you can choose and report. And this all, if you just see, if you collect the data from all these different touch points and present it to the doctors or the oncologist or the hematologist or care team, which is again a basically a core team which we form. So basically the hospital creates a core team around a group of patients, and it has oncologist, a hematologist in case of blood cancers or hematology cancers. Similarly, oncology nurse who plays a very key role, and similarly dietitian and a psychiatrist. Now these all 4 can see your status, they can see your time domain data, and can make better decisions in terms of even if they want to change your treatment. And it's just not the treatment, but even before you embark on the treatment, if you see the post-diagnosis journey, it also equips the patient, their caregivers, to be better prepared. They should not just undergo the first chemotherapy and then they never realize that the patient will have so much of side effect, or they will never realize that this will cost this much, or they will never realize that the diet is something which has to be taken care of. Whatever you used to eat every day is not something which you can eat. And it's again also about having a close engagement with your care team. Now all these things are all basically taught using Alivius itself to their family members, so that they're better prepared even when before they start their treatment journey. So this again as a whole tries to solve the most of the unmet needs of the patient. We are again working on expanding, scaling it up further, where we will take up few more we'll solve for few more unmet needs. But as of now, even this is what is deployed. We have a lot of patients who are getting benefited. This has been launched in few countries in Latin America. We are going to bring it back in India as well. So this is what, in short, the solution is all about. You can just go to the next slide, Vedant.
Yeah.
Now this is again a snapshot of like how the patient and caregiver app looks like. And if you see the care manager's dashboard, this is how they see. They can see a timeline. On a timeline, they can see everything, which is also you see that there is also amount of correlation. You can also try to figure out maybe some of the side effects have started after maybe a 3rd cycle of chemo, or maybe after the 2nd radiation therapy which the patient has undergone, or rather the patient is reporting better vitals or better statistics, better reports, blood reports, once he has started taking better diet. Now this is what the power of digital here. So this is what in short is Alivius. If you can go to the next slide, Vedant. Yeah. Now, coming to the second part of the discussion, now why cloud tech? And we believe that the most important success metrics for us as an organization, although this was one of the first bold experiment which we did, was still speed, security, and scalability and performance. These are the four important parameters which we never wanted to compromise. And when we talk about speed, we believe that if we go with a cloud native approach or a cloud first approach, now that something is very key. And again, we decided on a very early stage that we will make it cloud first. It's also because of the fact that this is a typical healthcare platform, a digital healthcare platform with a lot of patient information. The patient information, data privacy, data security guidelines have to be adhered to. We need to also ensure that if there is if the solution attains a scale, and when maybe thousands of patients avail these services, we should not struggle at that point of time from a scalability standpoint. And at the end of the day, this also needs to ensure that we give the optimum experience in terms of the application, in terms of performance. No one should see a lag, so it should auto scale. It should be reliable, and that's where we believe the cloud is the first or the best approach here. And we picked up AWS at that point of time. We thought we had been working with AWS for 2 years before we started Alivius, and we believed we should bet on something which we have a full confidence on. And also one of the best thing was AWS also at that point of time started providing HIPAA compliant infrastructure and the platform, and this again made our life simpler in terms of ensuring data privacy, data security. And along with AWS, when we were looking for a best partner and who can help us achieve these four objectives of speed, agility, performance, and data security, data privacy, we wanted to go with someone who had a prior experience delivering healthcare solutions. We never wanted to again getting into a journey where we train the partner, and the partner also should not be big enough where they bring in their own set of inertia. We wanted a medium scale partner who also provides fair amount of agility, because a lot of it is all about experimentation. Every day was a new learning for us, and we wanted to iterate. We wanted to take up this solution as a more iterative approach, so that at the end of the day we learn from patients, we learn from the market, and what we launch, when we launch, it actually meets the unmet need which we are aiming to solve for the patients, right? So that's how even we reach out to SourceFuse. And if you can just go to the next slide, Vedant. So again, to just summarize from a technology architecture standpoint, see, I think from a feature standpoint, we can very confidently say that we have provided a best-in-class digital platform to our patients. But on top of it, what I take pride in also saying that my architecture team, along with SourceFuse, both of them together, have ensured that also it's a benchmark in terms of even technology. And whether it is about how we looked at this as a microservices based architecture which is deployed on containers, or whether it is about integrated DevOps from day one, so that we can ensure that right from development to deployment, it just happens within few hours or minutes rather in the most mature state, not days. And similarly, how we leverage a advantage which serverless architectures of the day-to-day provides in terms of providing or enabling automation or enabling scale, and also backing it up with a kind of a usage-based pricing, so that we don't bleed in terms of even fixed infrastructure cost and so on. And overall, the overall process which we followed, which was not very common in pharmaceutical organization, is a hardcore Scrum and Agile-based approach. And it means that backed up by a very robust design thinking process. We have a in-house design studio 5B, and with them we did a lot of primary research on the ground, secondary research on the ground, and backed up with a very typical Scrum-based approach. It was iterative, but I think which we could achieve was what we could achieve was this great vision, and that too within a timeline of 6 months, which is very aggressive. And even many of the so-called startups in today's world also will bet it that even they can't do in this speed and with the agility with which we did. So just go to the next slide, maybe, Vedant. I'll just end up. So I think with this, we very strongly believe that we are doing our bit from our organization's vision of good health can't wait. And this is again, I think with this, just it's not a solution. I'm sure this solution as a whole is going to change the lives of a lot of cancer patients, millions of cancer patients across the globe. So I will take a pause, maybe hand over to Gautam, if you can take this forward from here.
Thanks, Rajiv. This was amazing, and thanks for explaining patient centricity with such clarity and how technology is basically the way forward for this. And I think I would now pass it on to Gautam, who will, I want to understand how good health can't wait kind of mixes with technology and cloud. And Gautam, over to you for explaining SourceFuses engagement in this entire solution.
Thanks, Vedant, and thank you, Rajdeep, for such a detailed kind of overview and helping everybody see the vision that I think I saw the minute I walked in to your office, and I forget that day. It was, an immediate connect I think we had, which is very lovely. So, I want to just take 2 minutes on about SourceFuse. So we're we're a 14-year-old organization, out of which, since 2012, we've been pretty much pure play on the cloud, and that also AWS. We are very proud to, as of July, being recognized as the only healthcare competency partner in Asia Pacific, and a select group of only 14 AWS partners globally, giving our commitment to this vertical, and also because it sort of demands it. It is, requires industry knowledge, requires background, and significant amount of investment in doing that. Our focus is also bringing together what we feel is best-in-class technologies. Like we work with very aggressively with the Loopback framework, which is an IBM framework, and we're a contributor. We work with F5 as partners for security, for application performance management. We work with New Relic, and that's how we've kind of built up an ecosystem of technologies that help us deliver what we would say, and as Rajdeep said, sort of benchmark technology solution. Vedant, could you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
I want to take, and we do this with a bit of a different approach. A lot of time, cloud is perceived less as an innovation platform, but more as a as a substitute for infrastructure, and a scale obviously is what it brings. But our approach usually when we discuss cloud is a modernization approach, whether it's starting and building an application from scratch, which is custom app development, or actually helping an organization which has a lot of traditional IT retire some of its technical debt, modernize it using containers, microservices, and re-architect its applications, and also ensuring that there is a large amount of automation happening in the process of iterative release management, etc. So we do the migration. We will get organizations to the cloud, or we leverage the cloud, but with an approach of being new tech, being modern in how we achieve this. So that's like a key focus for SourceFuse. If you could just move on.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to cover. This is a slightly. It's an interesting slide. What we've done, we've been kind of a healthcare for tech has been a focus now for SourceFuse for almost 6 years now, and over that time, we've been able to kind of look and see where the gaps are, where the needs are in the market, where the trends are going. And today, obviously, because of the global pandemic situation, a lot of these needs are have shifted from nice to haves to urgent and very, very require attention. For example, from a patient care platform, we just talked about Alivius, and we've got a couple of other examples there. One of our key customers is a customer out of Jacksonville that does patient transport. Over the past 3 years, we've almost saved them $40 million in optimizing how patient appointments with doctors and making sure there are no missed appointments. That's one, and this is these are all published case studies. We've also been aggressively investing in telemedicine. Everything from a partnership with Vonage now to where we're delivering a HIPAA compliant video consult situation, to a patient safety-based chat platform called SF Medic, which uses the very unique service Amazon has to offer, medical comprehend, to ensure that doctor-patient communication, there's a safety intervention to make sure there's no drug contradictions, or language barriers are surpassed with automatic translation and stuff like that. In the same vein, we've been working on the sales side of things with sort of an e-briefcase application, helping pharma and life sciences companies standardize the sales operations that companies have to make sure they're selling sort of verified, auditable documents and following the workflow that makes sense. We've just also been working with getting a OTT platform out for the CME education. So there's a lot that is kind of going on right now in this space, and we've had the fortune of partnering with excellent companies like DRL to deliver some of this, and also been investing in platforms like SF Medic and HelloMD that are our own platforms to deliver some of these solutions. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Yep.
I wanted to take a special emphasis on analytics, and also kind of coming up with how that is data is the key advantage of of digital. And I think Rajdeep covered that beautifully also in his presentation when he talks about the level of insight that you're able to get in the patient's journey, the recovery, the metrics, and what actually what they're doing in terms of how their diet is progressing, etc. And that is all done is enabled by the sort of analytics and touch points that can create actionable insights from a product, right? So that's a big focus for us. We've been able to, in our various sort of projects, look at operationalizing effectiveness, workflow automation, using stuff like RPA, doing bots and machine learning, etc. We've been especially with, say, Dr. Reddy's, for example, we're working with them to extend the platform to give them a good overview and global view on the treatment efficacy, and to help them sort of evaluate and evolve this. And I know Rajiv hasn't said it, but I think what I really want to talk about, and I'll do that next slide, is the vision to be able to extend that to other chronic ailments, not just be sitting with oncology. So that that comes from there. So with that, I want to kind of go back to how we started with DRL, and I was just mentioning when we first started engaging, I kind of walked into Rajdeep's office, and I think within the first half an hour, I was convinced, even if he wasn't, that this we would be a good choice, and we were very, very excited for this. In fact, I like to kind of tell the story around how I would say this is the fastest customer engagement we've ever done, because the match was just so perfect. So when we walked in, Rajdeep was talking about a patient-centric approach, being able to give patients access and control to their own records, involving family and friends, all the stuff that he's discovered. And I was frankly extremely surprised, because you hear a pharma company talk about patient centricity, and that's obviously a big leap, and not what you expect when you walk in to their CDO's office, right? So which was amazing, and it was great. We had worked across the world in building a patient-centric EMR, so which I think we kind of talked about to Rajdeep, and we were really able to kind of tie together all these three things that we're looking at to kind of get the patient-centric approach, give value-based care, and then at the same time give that overview of leveraging the cloud, reducing costs, and as well as making sure that it's a scalable, secure solution. So that's what we kind of figured out the needs were, and we felt that with our prior experience and stuff that we'd been doing in the healthcare space, this was a great sort of match for us. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Thanks. So Rajdeep has covered some of it, but I just wanted to kind of talk about from why this solution is so unique. What it does is it takes you away from just therapeutics management. We're saying, obviously that is covered. You have your your treatment plans are there. You've got your online consult management. But what it does is it tries to take a non-therapeutic approach which includes lifestyle, food, exercise, and then ties it all together and to give a holistic situation on how the patient is doing, right? As we've all known, and as that's, as sort of medicine also advances, that the fitness journey of, or the treatment journey of the patient depends more than just their drug adherence. So being able to put all of that together and really put it all in one platform and then give that view back to the hospital, I think that's where the real value is. A doctor can really pull up a dashboard and see all their patients and see how they're doing and give a very, very crisp view, enabling them to be more efficient, effective, and thereby giving better treatment to their patients. And I'd like to kind of bring this back to you by saying that a pharma company wanted to do this, not a hospital chain, right? So that's where, that's the real sort of key difference in how this whole thing was delivered. Let's go. So after the, these are the key sort of benefits that, we feel that a patient-centric approach brings to a patient, right? So like I was mentioning before, it allows you for better care coordination between a payer and provider. Payer could be the insurance company, provider because you're monitoring, you're managing, etc. You're talking about better long-term care in hospitals. You're talking about patient awareness, like Rajdeep mentioned earlier as well. Patients and their caregivers were not aware what was required, what was needed from them, what they needed to bring to the table to assure a successful journey. So that was brought together. It's patient stickiness, and we've seen this with other customers as well. If you create an engaging patient-centric platform, what happens? You will become a provider of choice for your patient. They will not they will not be so easily swayed by, say, non-availability for an appointment or something like that, but they'll want to stick with you because basically you're mapping their entire holistic journey, they're understanding where they are, and you're giving a good differentiator around it. Also, better monitoring and care management, and adherence are sort of, I think, brass tacks now, and that's what we're seeing a lot of digital influence. And then the other part, which I think brings to the table, is suppose it happens a lot with elderly patients. There's a lot of comorbidity involved. There are a lot of other factors, other chronic diseases that need management, and digital allows you to bring all of that together to bring and address what would be sort of a holistic experience for a payment and really kind of differentiate between the two. So yeah, so that's I think should give us a good overview picture of it, and would love to hear from Amir on why AWS is what it is, number one. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Gautam. Thank you so much. I think it was quite enriching and to try and understand, and actually quite inspiring as well, to try and understand how cloud in general plays a very important role in connecting the healthcare to get towards better patient outcomes. And I know in general, just personalizing the patient treatment journey. So this was beautiful. Thank you so much. Amir, I think I'd request you to take it away and give us an overview and then kind of like a direction of how cloud in the healthcare, life sciences, and pharma world kind of is taking the way forward and becomes kind of the point to focus at, and also how AWS in specific is kind of leaps ahead and a very reliable industry leader in this cloud space.
Absolutely, Vedant. Thanks, Gautam and Rajdeep, for really setting a very strong foundation. I think you've made my job really easy by covering several points, which I think would help the audience relate to the part I'm going to be talking about. So, from an AWS perspective, the belief we have is that cloud computing has the ability to remove major technology blockers that traditionally healthcare and life sciences companies have had to grapple with. And once you do that, cloud then becomes really a catalyst for a tremendous amount of innovation, which would otherwise really be hard to do with traditional technology approaches. So what we heard today was, in fact, a fabulous example of that from DRL. But in the next 10 minutes or so, I'd like to talk a little more about what AWS does in the industry overall and how a number of other organizations are also innovating on our platform. So with that, let me kind of just give you a very brief introduction in terms of, we've been in business since 2006. AWS has been known to be the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud platform. We provide a suite of about 175 plus services, and this spans across just basic core technology infrastructure, but also more advanced capabilities around analytics, DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and we deliver this to customers through a global data center footprint, which enables customers then to really be agile, flexible, very secure, and comply with regulations applicable in your industry. For Rajdeep and Gautam alluded to this, we have about 110 of our services are already HIPAA compliant, and that list only continues to grow. Now, specific to customers in India, and to ensure that your latency and regulatory requirements are being met, we have our data center infrastructure in Mumbai since 2016, which consists of what we call availability zones, which are isolated fault-tolerant data centers to ensure high availability and fault tolerance for your applications. Vedant, if you can transition the slide, please.
Right. I think this is the one you're looking at, Amit.
No, the next one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry
so
there you go.
No problem. Thank you. So we're proud to be associated with more than 1,100 life sciences customers globally, which includes incidentally 9 of the top 10 pharma companies. Now, as you've heard earlier in the discussion, right, understanding of the domain is really key. And we do that in 2 ways as AWS. Firstly, we have a healthcare life sciences practice. We've had this for about 7 years now. And what we've done is to really bring people with decades of experience in the healthcare industry. And that understanding of customer challenges changes the way we approach the solutions we want to come to you with. So that's really the first part. And the second one is really what we do with partners like SourceFuse, who bring, again, very specialized domain understanding, right? And I think a great example was what we were jointly able to deliver for DRL in this case. Now, for the rest of my presentation, I don't want to really get into any technical services that we talk about offer. Rather, I thought what would be more relevant is to kind of illustrate some other real-world examples of very unique, differentiated capabilities customers in your industry have built on our platform through the different stages of the whole life sciences value chain, right from drug discovery, going through clinical development, and finally to patient support even, right? Now, the key part, again, is that all of these examples I'm quoting here are of workloads that are in production, and these are not really trial or experimental in nature at all, right? And obviously, secondly, these are really a sample set of use cases. We have many more that we could talk about, but that's possibly for a separate conversation. With that, let's start with the first one, right? When you talk about early phase research and discovery, the problem statement is that scientists today spend years studying how to go from collection of millions of molecules down to the ones you want to do trials on, and this involves obviously looking at compounds and things like that, how they are absorbed by them and distributed in the human body, and that's really what makes it so time consuming and also so expensive. So an example of what we've done here is with this company called Numerate, where we took all of that chemistry data into the cloud, and this was like 128 million molecules, right, with all the relevant facts and ton of other important information about the molecule. And then we applied massive amounts of high performance computing to this. And as a result, what we were able to achieve in about a year would have otherwise taken that customer 5 to 7 years to do the same, right? And also that we were able to deliver this at a fraction of the cost to finally get it down to the 69 molecules they wanted to work on for a particular therapy. So this is a great example of how cloud really helps to accelerate the first phase of this delivery accelerating delivery and research. If you can move to the next one, Vedant.
Yeah.
So moving on, when you go to talk about clinical development, what we find is that the traditional processes and technology were really designed for mass marketed drugs, but as patient care kind of moves to smaller, more precision medicine development, which is by default a smaller patient population, that traditional model doesn't really work so well, and therefore we believe that the future of clinical trials is going to be changing with the availability of real-time data and technologies such as artificial intelligence and analytics. So a great example is with Bristol Myers Squibb, where they actually use AWS to provide a very secure self-provisioning portal for hosting research to scientists, right, who can run these trial simulations on demand. And in their case, they've been able to do what they earlier would take 60 hours. They're able to now do it in about just over an hour, right? So that 98% speed obviously is a great advantage, but alongside that comes the whole drop in the cost of clinical trials itself, which helps deliver faster and quicker outcomes to patients. If you can transition to the next slide, Vedant.
Yep. There you go.
Now, talking about the manufacturing and supply chain, I think a great example is a company called Moderna. I'm sure the company that many of you may have been reading about in recent times. They're considered to be like a front runner to productize the first vaccine for COVID-19. Moderna selected AWS as their preferred cloud provider, and leveraging their a proprietary mRNA platform and manufacturing facility with the AWS powered research engine, they were actually able to deliver the first clinical batch for the COVID-19 vaccines phase 1 trial just 42 days after the initial sequencing of that virus happened. So that a great example of completely and relooking at how this can be applied to the healthcare industry. If we can move.
Yeah.
Now, moving to the commercialization phase, right? Now, companies obviously value speed to market here because you want to improve regulatory submission processes, you want to get sales and marketing efforts aligned, and obviously, point to a better care personalization diagnosis. So Navify is a product from a company called Roche, which is basically what they've done is to build a diagnostic tool that uses analytics to match patients' tumor types, so care teams can quickly select the right therapy for each patient. We saw similar themes about this that Rajdeep was alluding to with Alivius. But now in this case, what they do is this platform uses a service from Amazon called Amazon Comprehend Medical, which can quickly extract information from unstructured data. This could be medical documents and various other types that could have been traditionally handwritten as well. And this allows for better analytics and decision support for doctors to recommend treatments better. Next one, please.
There you go, Amir.
Thank you. And finally, right, the ultimate goal we are all pursuing is better customer, or in this case, more appropriately, patient experience. Now, by organizing and analyzing large amounts of data in real time, companies can improve patient engagement with very personalized recommendations suited to them. So the example that I wanted to quote was of a company called Propeller Health, which has built really small wireless sensors that attach to medications. And there is a mobile application that helps users build better behavior around compliance of their medications. And they use also a service called Amazon SageMaker, which is a machine learning enabler to build prediction models to notify if users are more likely to have a health-based event. Now, this could be based on external factors or as like weather, or it could just be physical activity or medication usage. So that kind of brings me to the whole life cycle. And if we can just move to the next one, Vedant.
Yeah.
So in summary, those are really all of the benefits that we deliver through that value chain. And I hope you are inspired by some of these innovative use cases on the platform that we've showcased today, and would love to be a catalyst for any transformation ideas that you may have in your own company. With that, I'll thank all of you for your time and hand it back to Vedant.
Thanks, Amir. This was really very nice, and I think gives a very good holistic overview understanding of what AWS does and how these services are really built for the HLS industry, and fixes all of these problems which we started talking about, the barriers and the unmet needs of the patients. So thank you so much for that, and thank you everybody. Rajdeep, Gautam, thank you so much. I'm going to open this up for questions. I see a few coming in on the chat already. If there's anybody who has questions or thoughts in general, you guys would want to share with us, you can chat and you can type in the chat section. Rajdeep, I see one which is related to Dr. Reddy's, and I think the idea would be of how you conceptualized Alivius and how does it help a pharmaceutical company to drive the global industry to a better path together. I think that's the overall brief of that question.
Sure. So I think from a conceptualization standpoint, I think most of the people will concur with me. See, pharmaceutical as a whole have been actually laggard in terms of digital transformation, and it's also because of the very strong regulatory controls which are there on pharma. But then, having said so, even highly regulated industries like even aerospace have adopted digital and technology. So I think regulation cannot be, or no longer can be, a reason to be behind. And I think from that perspective, what we also, I think the best torchbearer of that thought within our organization is our co-chairman himself. So Prasad again always talks about patient centricity. I think you will hear him talking more about patient centricity than anything else. And that's where we have been thinking, like, we have been a leader in terms of oncology products, and in terms of generic player, we have been number one spot in many countries. We are the leaders for oncology portfolio. And what we believed is what we can do more for the same set of patients. Because see, unlike any other startup or unlike any other organization who comes in, pharma has a great advantage, and that advantage is we are already connected. We have a reach to so many different care providers and healthcare institutions, doctors, and so on. And today, again, millions of patients anyway are on our therapies. Now, if we decide to do something more than what we do traditionally, which is about our pills and drugs, the answer is simple. The answer is what we can do more beyond these products to fulfill the unmet needs. And unmet needs are innumerable. You have to just go to the field and talk to the patient, which actually as a pharma company we don't do enough. We are more connected to our customers rather than our consumers. But the moment you connect with the consumers, you definitely will see a plethora of opportunities which you all can tap into. And that had been our starting point. And that's how the Alivius was born. And we built a very small prototype internally. My product team, my digital product team, the architects internally built the product. We went to countries. We tested this product with various patients. And one statement which I'll remember for my entire life. One of the patient who was was undergoing treatment for multiple myeloma, common name is blood cancer. And she said me after using the prototype and running through the app which we wanted her to go through and give her opinion was, where were you for so many months when I was struggling, when I was suffering? I wish you could have been here earlier than we are meeting today, right? I think that's what something you go and you will have wonderful stories of patients who are looking at players like us to solve for their unmet needs. And I think that's how it started. And I think it's just not, see, it's definitely for an organization like ours, it's not charity. At the end of the day, it's also about fulfilling definitely the needs, which will enable better treatment outcomes. But again, on top of it, even for us, it also builds that brand, builds that additional bonding with both the institutions, hospitals, and as well as the patients. And that's what you need. You need to be your patients and your customers and consumers to be loyal to you or connected to you, and that's what the solution does. So that had been the business case around it. So what we can do beyond what we are doing today, which translates to a better bonding, better engagement between us and our customers and consumers.
Right. Thank you. And so I see one more, and I think, Gautam, this would be for you. We want to understand about the validation done for data security, and in general, how secure is this PHI data, and what was the way of making sure that the compliance was taken care of?
So as a company that does development around healthcare, security is always top of mind, and we've got a bunch of ways of doing that. Obviously, from an architecture perspective, our team worked with Rajdeep's team to ensure that HIPAA compliance is sort of built in. And a significant portion of our team, I think almost 48 to 50 people now, are trained in HIPAA compliance from the get-go, so they understand the process of it, and when they're building toward it, they understand it. So you start from there, you architect it correctly, and then we have a tie-up with a third-party firm that is an audit firm as well as a VAPT. Sort of, they do a VAPT plus a full audit of the firm to ensure compliance as well. So we did that at our end. Then Rajdeep and team also, obviously, at time of acceptance, had their own sort of green book that we had to go through. That there was a whole process. So it's definitely not an afterthought. It can never be. It is definitely something that one needs to design for, one needs to train and sensitize their workforce for, and build it into their processes. So that is how it happens. For any particular questions around, obviously we can take that offline, but yeah, so it's about basically building that knowledge and that domain sensitivity within the team that is building the product.
Sure, thank you. And I see one question, and I think all three of you might just be able to answer, so I'll leave it open to you guys. But the question is, what other healthcare domains would this patient care platform serve? So maybe Rajdeep, you want to take this first?
Yeah, so if you just eliminate that term that it's for cancer, right? It's not a cancer engagement platform. It's not a platform for cancer patients. If you just remove the word cancer, it's a platform for patients, right? So what happens now the moment you look at the needs, the various modules which we built as part of Alivius is applicable for any therapy which you can think of. Like the closest possibility can be chronic patient management as well, where a patient needs to be taken care of over a long period of time. It's just not an acute therapy where you come, you take an antibiotic and you are well, and you recover. So any of these therapy areas where you believe the treatment is long, cancer is one of them, chronic is much longer, sometimes it's lifelong. It can be even used for areas where you want to improve the reach of care, where you don't have a physical presence of the healthcare providers there, but you want to provide a best-in-class treatment, best-in-class care to the patients. So any of this, whether it's chronic, whether it's about solving for the reach, or whether it is for other therapy, like it takes just maybe some amount of thought process. See, like whether you want to reimagine the therapy areas, even pain management can be a huge, or maybe a fitness wellness. If you come out of the very, very pharma domain, it can also get into a fitness wellness domain as well. So because as a modules as a whole, if you look at adherence as a module, education as a module, or rather maybe side effect reporting as a module, or rather how we utilize data to bring in those insights in terms of how the patients are recovering, improving, or deteriorating. That is applicable to any therapies across the globe. So only thing is how we make it modular from day one, and that's why I said from day one we thought of going ahead with microservice architecture, so that each of these modules are as a service, are visualized as a service, so that we can, like a Lego, we can construct any other product tomorrow which meets the needs of other set of patients.
Right, right. Thanks, Rajdeep. Amir, I think this one's for you, and I know we've gone a minute over, but we've got this very specific question for AWS, which is what is AWS doing to retain its leadership in this healthcare life sciences vertical? Specifically with the rising competition, what's the AWS strategy around this?
Yeah, so I think the AWS strategy is very similar to the Amazon strategy, I would say, which is so Amazon's the whole business model, and AWS is no different, is built around this concept of customer obsession. The philosophy underlying being that if you just obsess over your customers and take care of what they need, they're never really going to leave you, right? So that's really what AWS does, and we do it in a number of ways. One is, obviously we keep innovating on the platform and make sure that it delivers on the promise, right? Whether it's availability or security and functionality that customers want. So we keep innovating at a very rapid clip. The second thing I think is we really do a lot to keep costs down. One is to price drops. The second thing is to work with customers to help them lower their costs by using a lot of the innovation. And the third thing I would say to sum it up is we just kind of think to the very long term about our customers, Vedant, right? We are also gold in a manner where we don't have deals, so to speak, that drives a very, very different behavior, right? So customers, we are trying to really build long-term relationships with customers. So I think that's something hopefully customers who work with us see a lot.
I'm sure. And I think I'm seeing a couple of generic questions coming. When can we see this in India? So Rajdeep, that's just a heads up from everybody, I guess. So I know we've gone a couple of minutes over, so I think let's respect everybody's time on this. Thank you everybody for joining in. I still see a lot of questions, but what can happen is you guys can mail this us at hello@sourcefuse.com, and we'll make sure that we address this with our speakers and get back to you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rajdeep, Gautam, Amir, for giving us your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.